All right, man, let's talk Carolina Panthers here for a little bit. The Panthers obviously have had an outstanding offseason, made a lot of really smart moves, and they, of course, right now have the number one overall pick in the upcoming NFL draft. They absolutely have to get this pick right, Mize. But we've got a report out of Charlotte that shows the Panthers are doing everything they can, making a lot of smart decisions that will guarantee they will make sure they get this pick right. They absolutely have to, and they're doing all the right things to make sure it happens.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is going to be a huge franchise defining draft for the Panthers. When you have a number one overall pick like this, it's always really big. But I want to forget about this draft here for a second and think back to the drafts of the past for the Carolina Panthers. And let us know in the comments below who has been a guy the Panthers drafted that you were the most exciting about them drafting. Not necessarily the guy that lit it up on the field, but I'm just saying in that draft, when they picked this player, you were extremely excited about the Panthers getting them. Let us know in the comments below and make sure to stay tuned to the end of today's video to hear a word from the partner of today's video, Neuro. But Nick, nonetheless, let's hear how the Panthers have been preparing for this draft.
Yeah, Miles, when you look at teams when they do dumb things when it comes to the NFL draft, it's almost a tale as old as time. A team goes through a months-long, sometimes a year-long process evaluating prospects. They get into the draft process. It gets really close to the draft. They see a prospect who they really haven't been following that much, suddenly has a great pro day or crushes great interview, and they throw out their entire system and throw out all their process. They fall in love with this guy and they make a stupid selection, and the whole franchise falls apart. That's what dumb teams do. That's the exact opposite of what the Carolina Panthers are doing. They're handling it the smart way, and this is according to the latest report from Panthers Wire. If you want to go ahead and throw it up, Mize. On Tuesday's edition of NFL Now, Cameron Wolfe of NFL Network shared some insight on the Panthers' thought process heading into the draft. Wolfe said the Panthers won't make a decision on the first overall pick until after they complete their evaluation. Wolfe said, quote, they have not yet made a final decision yet on who they'll take at the number one pick. They won't do that until they finish their evaluation, which will conclude next week with C.J. Stroud and Will Levis coming in for a visit. All right, Miles, I absolutely love this from the Carolina Panthers. I think this is just absolutely smart roster building decision making from the top of the organization down, because you don't fall into the trap like I mentioned earlier where you fall in love with the guy and you make a stupid decision. It happens all the time. You can go back to 2017 when the Chicago Bears fell in love with Mitch Trubisky. They gave up a lot of draft capital to move up one spot to take Mitch Trubisky when a guy named Patrick Mahomes was waiting in the wings much later in the first round. So the Bears obviously made a big mistake there. They've been paying for it ever since. The Panthers are sticking to their process. They got nothing but time in terms of having a few weeks, going through the right evaluations, making sure they have all the data they need to make a well-informed, intelligent decision to make sure they get it right. And if they're following their process and sticking to it, I think they absolutely will get it right, Mice. Give me your thoughts on the Panthers, this process, and everything they're doing right now to get ready for the draft.
Yeah, Nick, I think this is great by the Panthers, but this is nothing new. The Panthers have been doing this for a while. And if you take a walk down memory lane here, Nick, the Panthers have really been kind of good at nailing their first round draft pick throughout history. You go all the way back to like 2002, Julius Peppers. Then you had Jordan Gross. If you go a little bit further, Thomas Davis, D'Angelo Williams, John Beeson, Jonathan Stewart. You go to 2011, the last time they had the number one overall pick. Cam Newton was a heck of a player. Luke Kuechly, Star Lotulelei, Shaq Thompson, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Brian Burns. The list goes on up into the most recent ones. All of those guys, Derek Brown, J.C. Horn, Akeem Aquanu, all seem to have been the right pick for the Panthers at that time. All have been very, very good players. So I think that this is something that the Panthers have been very good at, and that's why fans need to trust what the front office is doing in taking their time, doing their due diligence, and going through all the picks. Yes, we think the Panthers are going to pick a quarterback with the number one overall pick, but what if one of these guys is, way better than any quarterback that is on the board? You got to find out, and that's why I love the Panthers are at least doing the due diligence of finding this. Like you said, they're not falling into the traps that other teams do, like the Bears, like the Jaguars did last year, kind of, with Trayvon Walker. There's other examples as well of how this can go, but Nick, I just think the Panthers are doing really smart stuff here, and they're kind of they've shown they're nailing it, and they're keeping the process so they make sure they do nail this.
And it's not just that they're doing a great job with the draft. Obviously having that number one overall pick, you're allocating a lot of resources, but they're making great moves in free agency. They've already made a number of moves, and it was reported today that they're actually bringing in Trey Flowers, the veteran corner from Cincinnati, for a visit, as well as a guy who can be another veteran piece in the back end of their defense. So again, it's not just that they're doing all the smart moves in terms of their focus and process. They're also not neglecting any areas either, because sometimes, you can get so laser focused on what you need to get right that you screw up free agency as well. You got to get both of them right, especially as a Carolina team trying to turn the corner. So you look at the Panthers still focusing on free agency, making sure they address any potential opportunities there, while sticking to their process to make sure they go right at number one overall, getting the right quarterback, the right franchise quarterback for this team going forward. I really like what Fritterer, Reich, Tepper, the whole organization from the top down has handled this offseason. They've done a great job. And if I'm a Panthers fan right now, I'm really excited for the future. All right, Miles, we would like to give a special thanks to our partner in today's video, Neuro.
That's right, Nick. And I want you to go with me on a journey really fast. I want you to imagine this. It's 4th and goal in the big game, Nick. Your team is relying on you to make the big time game winning play. I know you've been in this situation before, Nick. The stadium is roaring. The clock is ticking. The game is on the line. But if only in that moment you were able to have some Neuro Gum. Neuro Gum will help you stay concentrated, and it gives you a burst of energy without a nasty crash.
That's right, Miles. Neuro has thoughtfully curated ingredients and does endless lab testing, which means that you can reach the right state of mind safely and consistently. That's the most important part. It gives you a clean burst of energy and focus without the jitters of coffee or any of those other energy drinks.
That's right, Nick. And if you click our sponsor link in the description below, you can enjoy energy, calm, and focus whenever you need it.